Hello, guys, gals, and anyone who identifies otherwise, and welcome to episode 11 of the Table of Terror podcast. If you're new, hi, welcome. My name is Kameko. You can call me Miko if you'd like, and I am the creator and host of the Table of Terror podcast. Before we jump into the meat of the podcast, real quick, this is the first episode of the show that you can watch on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, you can check the show notes. All the information will be there. If you're already watching on YouTube, hi, you can see me. You can see me being a big goofball about weird paranormal stuff. And if you are interested in supporting the show in any sort of way, the easiest for you to do so is to subscribe, and things like that on whatever you're listening to this / seeing this on. And if you'd like to support the show monetarily in any sort of way, for $1 a month, you can support us on Patreon. Everything would go towards the show to make it better. Blah, blah, you get it. If you'd like to get in touch with the podcast on social media, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Table of Terror with an underscore after that. That's again Instagram and Twitter. If you'd like to get in touch with me, Kameko, online, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, basically anything at Kameko Rios. That's MEKO RIOS. So with all of that shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's jump into this. This is episode 11. We've been doing this for a little while now, and a lot of these past episodes have been about paranormal games or paranormal rituals, and today is no different. Today's episode is about the Bathtub Game, also known as Daruma-San. Now, the Ghost in My Machine describes this game as, quote, a deadly version of red light, green light. And after researching this specific paranormal ritual, I have to agree. It's absolutely insane. There's like a big, long setup that you kind of get, you understand why it's called the Bathtub Game. And then, but that's setup. That's before shit actually starts to get crazy, when you jump into what this paranormal ritual is actually all about. It is absolutely terrifying. So as usual, I will caution anyone listening to this / watching this to please not try this ritual for yourself. That would be really dumb. You can go watch other people who've been idiots and done it, and you could learn from their mistakes by not doing it. I would suggest you not do it, but I have taken it upon myself here on the show to at least make sure that y'all are informed on what you would be getting yourself into if for some reason you're so bored that you decide that you want to do some sort of paranormal ritual. So, we're going to go through some context and some history on this ritual. We're going to get into what you need to play this quote-unquote paranormal game, and what actually happens. We'll probably get into some testimonials and people's accounts of who have actually tried this ritual and what that experience was like for them. So with that being said, let's jump into things. So, for a little bit of history and context on this particular paranormal game, I will say there are two kind of games that I've found about this. One is with a doll, which is kind of a knockoff. It's not what we're going to be talking about here. We're going to be talking about the actual Daruma-San Ritual. Now, this paranormal game, that is a loaded term. I use that as a loaded term. Originated in Japan, and at some point it was translated into English and just blew up on certain internet spaces. Now, this is about it's a story and a kind of like an urban legend, I guess, that again originated in Japan, and I assume it has some sort of truth to it. But it's about a girl named Daruma, hence Daruma-San, who basically slipped and fell to her death in a bathtub. Sounds like an awful way to die, and I would probably be pissed off and would haunt the shit out of bathtubs if that happened to me as well, so I really can't fault this chick. It sucks. Don't play this game, please. Because in this paranormal game, you are basically summoning her and playing a sort of keep away with her. You are under no circumstances supposed to allow her to catch you or to win this game, because if you fail, she will supposedly haunt your dreams. But not just haunt your dreams, she'll also haunt you in real life and could end up killing you. So the stories go. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into the requirements that you're going to need if you foolishly choose to perform a ritual like this, or actually to perform this ritual. It's real easy. You're going to need yourself alone. You're going to need a bathroom with a bathtub. You cannot use a shower or anything else. It has to be a bathtub because it's very important to the ritual itself, to the whole setup. And yeah, that's basically all you need to get started. I mean, it's not hard. Okay, so like I mentioned before, this paranormal ritual kind of happens in two completely separate parts. So we're going to talk about part one, or what I would probably call the setup for the whole thing. And then we'll jump into part two, which is stuff that happens the next day, which is when the ritual actually starts. So for part one, for the setup, you're going to have to begin this ritual at night just before bedtime, because after you do several of these steps, you are going to go to sleep as if nothing crazy is happening. So, you're going to have to make sure that it's close to your bedtime before you get started. And the second step is to get undressed and then enter the bathroom. You're going to fill the tub up with water and completely turn off the lights. For step 3, you are going to climb into this tub, and this is important. You're going to sit facing the taps or the water faucet. You're going to close your eyes and keep them shut as you start to wash your hair. But the research I did online didn't account for washing any other part of your body, so wash your stanky ass, get yourself all clean, and then close your eyes and wash your hair. That's my advice. Because, like, you should wash your pubes before you wash your hair. Okay, so that was step 3. Let's get into the tub, facing the taps, close your eyes, start to wash your hair. As step 4, as you wash your hair, you're going to repeat the following mantra. You're going to say, Daruma-san fell down. And you're going to continue saying this phrase until your hair is completely washed. Do not, under any circumstances, open your eyes. Which actually is probably good that this is in with the instructions, because, like, what if you get soap in your eyes? That shit sucks. I don't know if you've ever had soap in your eyes. You probably have, but it's not a fun thing. And if you've done everything correctly up to this point, you will supposedly have a mental image of a Japanese woman, Daruma-san, standing in the bathtub, and then she will slip, fall, and land face first on face first onto a rusty tap, which will then gouge out her right eye. This poor girl, oh my god. That's if you do everything right. If you hear any noise behind you or you feel movement in the tub, which people have said happens to them as they perform this paranormal ritual, especially this part. If you have the image, go ahead and continue. If you hear a noise or you feel anything behind you, you are not supposed to turn around. You're not supposed to open your eyes. You are only supposed to do the following. You're supposed to ask a question, which is, why did you fall in the bathtub? You're going to allow this question to hang in the air, and then you're supposed to, keeping your eyes shut, by the way, stand up, please carefully get out of the bathtub because you do not want to slip and fall and gouge your eyeball out like Daruma did. So you're going to stand up while keeping your eyes shut still. Exit the bathroom. Okay, you're not going to drain the tub. You're going to leave the water just the way it is. But you're going to get out of the bathroom, shut the door completely behind you. And once you are out of the bathroom and the door is closed, you can go ahead and open up your eyes. Again, leave the bathroom the way it is until the following morning. Do not turn on any lights, and you are going to get in bed and go to sleep. Like this craziness is completely normal and you're going to be able to sleep. Do not get dressed. You are supposed to do this in the nude. Go to bed with no clothes on. And the kind of main event, I'm going to call it part 2, of this paranormal ritual happens the next day. So you're going to go to bed. End of part 1, you go to bed, you're naked. Woo! The real game starts as soon as you wake up the next morning. So go ahead, wake up whenever you usually do, whenever that is, and the game begins as soon as you open your eyes. So, you are supposed to go about your day as normal. You might feel a constant presence behind you. That sounds absolutely terrifying. My sources have said that it's likely... My sources, it sounds like I'm like an FBI agent or something. The research that I did suggests that you probably won't see anything if you look behind you, but if you happen to glance over your right shoulder, which coincides with the right eye that Daruma got gouged out. You see that? Yeah, supposedly, if you look over your right shoulder, you might be able to catch a glimpse of her. And her hair is supposedly black and tangled, and she will have only one eye, obviously. If you have this mental image of her in part 1, when you were supposed to, which you were supposed to go ahead, that was a good thing, you were doing it correctly, I'm guessing it's the same person you're gonna see if you happen to catch a glimpse of her over your shoulder. Here's the thing, the absolute most terrifying thing about this whole situation is that she will try to get closer to you as the day progresses, and you are not supposed to let her catch you. Again, this is like hide and seek, this is like red light, green light. If you see her and she is too close for comfort, you can yell "Tomar," which means stop in Japanese, and you're going to just book it, run away, get as much distance between you and her as you can, and again, don't let her catch you. Now I'm going to tell you how to end this game. First and foremost, it's really important that this does not go on past midnight the following day. So you start this one night before you go to bed, right? And you need to finish this ritual, cut off the game before midnight the following day. That's super important, otherwise she will supposedly haunt your dreams and kill you. But here is how one can end the game. The first step is to capture her in your gaze. okay? You need to see her by looking over your right shoulder. And step 2 is to shout the phrase kita, which means in Japanese something along the lines of "I cut you loose." And while you say kita, you're going to swing your arm down in a chopping motion like a karate chop. And if you do this correctly, you supposedly will win and the game is over. It's literally supposed to cut her off from you. You are releasing her. You summoned her the previous night, and at that point, if you are looking at her and you shout kita and physically perform that motion, which is interesting, by the way. I have read and seen instances of people using a physical, like, chopping motion like that to sever, like, a spiritual connection, which is really interesting, and I'll do a episode about that in the future. If you're interested, let me know. But if you do this correctly, you will have won, quote-unquote, like, won this game. You will have ended this ritual, is what I will say. And if, for any reason, this hasn't happened successfully, and you have not performed this part correctly of ending the game, you need to run. Just go. Just get the fuck out. Just leave. You can try this again. You have an infinite number of chances until midnight. But yeah, you need to finish by midnight. Otherwise, she's gonna haunt your dreams and your real life body and kill you and have her way with you, and I don't know, maybe you'll end up haunting the bathtub with her. No idea. An important note is that this game might not be easy to end. She may hide from you, likes to be sneaky, and again, you have to see her the whole time as you are cutting her loose. But she is fond of both water and dark places, so if you can avoid those things for as much as possible the following day, that will be to your benefit. So if you're a swimmer, you're kind of fucked. But maybe don't do this ritual. Anyway, those are some important things. And if you have performed this ritual correctly, good for you. If you've done it before listening to this podcast and you'd like to share your experiences, I would be super excited to hear about that. You can send your story into the podcast via email. It'll be in the show notes. You could send me a DM online on any of my social medias or the show's social medias. If you have any sort of paranormal experience that you want to share, or that like you would want to share with me, or you would like to share with other people and have it possibly be on the podcast, hello, you can send that to the tableofterrorpod@gmail.com. And I would be very interested in hearing about all of that. And anything paranormal, supernatural, mystical, spiritual, tell me things. I want to know your things. And with all of that being said, that's about it for the ritual itself. We are going to have I'm going to read two people's experiences that I found on Reddit, and what they went through performing the Daruma-San Ritual, or the Bathtub Game. And we will get to that in just a minute. Alright, so let's jump into a couple of experiences that I found from people on Reddit 3 Kings, which is a thread about paranormal games and such. This person's experience was posted 3 years ago, and their Reddit username is some creepy stuff. Now, this guy is going to introduce himself, and it's clear from the first paragraph of this that he has done several and written about several of these paranormal games. So if you want to check out his stuff on Reddit, I'll go ahead and leave the link to this thing that I'm reading in the show notes for you guys. if you want to check out more of his stuff or read this for yourself. Everything I talk about in the stuff, all of my sources, all the resources that I've used will be in the show notes or the description of this video. So it's just titled Daruma-San. And so it reads, "Hello Redditors, Phil here, and I have a new fresh ritual for you guys. Today's game is Daruma-San, very popular ritual in America and in Japan. This game is originally from Japan. It's based on a story, which I assume is true, about a girl who died while taking a shower, he says shower, but it's bath, and slipping and falling to her doom. In this game, the purpose is to summon this girl and to invite her into your life for 24 hours or more, depending on your results, and to avoid her at all costs. My experience with this game may not be the best experience you'll ever read, but I can assure you that this is my best experience with a game until now, and the most dangerous one as well. Let's begin." It was about 22 o'clock when I started this ritual. Again, not midnight, because the ritual rules aren't specified with an hour to play, and I'm a chicken at midnight. This game is much more simple than the other ones I've done in the past. It does not involve anything for your body, and also does not involve candles. You just need to turn everything off and get in a bathtub. Note, this game has to be played in a bathtub or else it will not work. So it was about 22:10 when I turned everything off in my house. I went to the bathroom. The atmosphere was perfect, dark, and silent. And I was scared as fuck, but I had to be brave or else you won't get any experiences. I squeezed a bit of shampoo in my left hand and started washing my hair, as well as repeating over and over this mantra: Daruma-san fell down, Daruma-san fell down, Daruma-san fell down. It was about, I have no idea, but it didn't take too long, probably 3 to 5 minutes after I started washing my hair, and a short clip suddenly popped into my head. It was a beautiful Asian girl, and I went completely silent when this clip started to play. The clip, or vision, had a calming song and bath sound effects. I watched this girl take a bath for a minute, and after she was finished, she got up from the bathtub and walked towards the tap. But one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen happen, she slipped in the wet bathtub and fell with her eye on the tap, and the clip showed me the gore of her eye completely out of her face and her scream in pain. The music stopped then, and the only thing I could hear in my vision was her yelling, "Help me, help me, ah!" That, side note, that sounds like a terrifying thing to see while you're just trying to wash your hair with your eyes closed. Anyway, he asks, "Why did you fall in the bathtub?" And then it continues, "After that, I could feel such a huge presence behind me. I had to get out of the bathroom. It was the time. Carefully, when I was 100% sure I was completely still in the bathtub, it says I leaved it. This guy's grammar is iffy at best. I left it carefully with my eyes completely shut. That's not important. It was about 22:30, so about half an hour before he really started. He found himself finally out of the bathroom. It says, I shut the door as fast as I could and ran towards my room. Note, you have to go to bed in the way you started this ritual, nude. If you do not, well, I don't know exactly what will happen, but the rules say that you must. And I wouldn't try to disrespect such a dangerous game. So it was about 3:20 in the morning when, this is the part when the story gets a big twist. I have a habit of waking up in the night to drink something or go to the bathroom, and, well, I completely forgot this detail when I started to do the Daruma-San game. The main trouble is the game starts when you open your eyes. not when you're ready. So if your eyes open in the middle of the night, Daruma-san will start chasing you. Anyway, and guess what happened to me? That's right. I woke up suddenly at 3:20 in the morning. I tried to go back to sleep, but about 10 seconds later, I realized that I had to run. The game had started. I picked up some comfortable clothes and ran out of my house like a crazy fuck once again. Where I live is not super dangerous in the night, but there are some violent cases around my area. I didn't really care about those. My only worry was Daruma-san. I could see something behind me by glancing over my shoulder, and it was similar to the girl in my vision. Obviously, it was her. I went to Daniel's house, which must be a friend, while I tried to call him on my phone. He finally answered after I tried many times. He was so tired and confused. I told him everything that had happened, and he was a bit nervous, but he let me come into his house, and I asked him if he would give me a ride to somewhere, probably like a park, so I could have a good place to run if Daruma got close. My car was broken at the time, and the closest... Okay, so he goes on and on about how he got to the park. But it was about 4 a.m., when him and his friend Daniel went to the park, and it continues, he, which is Daniel, told me he could help me flee from Daruma until at least 8 in the morning. This is a good friend. He spent 4 hours with this guy in a park. He knew Daruma wouldn't appear for him, but he said that he could help me a lot by telling me if he heard any noises so that I could turn around. My only concern, besides getting caught by Daruma-san, was that maybe the police would think Daniel and I were some sort of troublemakers in the park, or something like that. It was about 8 in the morning when this happened. 8 a.m. was the time I wanted to start playing Daruma-san in the first place. My original plan was the following. Wake up at 8, make my daily quests, go to work, etc., have some lunch, visit my girlfriend, basically go anywhere but home. And at the end of the day, go home after it had been finished. As the game started so much sooner than I had hoped, I was too tired to really do anything with my day. I called my boss and asked him if I could have off work for the day, and for some reason he accepted. So then I called my girlfriend and asked if I would go to her house, but she was busy. So eventually, it was about 8:10 in the morning when I started praying. Daniel stood at my side with his ears very focused on the sound to try to warn me. And when I had finished praying, I was still very tired, and it was very hard for me to stand on my own 2 feet again. But when I finally got up, Daniel yelled, "I'm hearing something! Hurry!" He told me he was hearing something even though I wasn't hearing a thing. I turned around very quickly and was able to see her full body. She was so scared and concerned with me staring at her. Without taking any longer, I made a karate chop motion while shouting kata, which means I free you, and I was no longer playing the Daruma-san game. Well, this game may not have ended as I expected. Actually, it didn't happen at all the way I expected, and I admit I was actually expecting to fail, or not get this far, seeing her whole body, etc., etc. Even though I proved to myself that the Midnight Man, Dry Bones, and Hooded Man in fact were real. I'm sorry if this experience was too short, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. That is Phil's experience with the Daruma-san game. And now we will move on to another Reddit user's experience that I found. This person's handle on Reddit is Crooked Soul. This is their experience that was posted about a year ago at the time of me reading this. And it's titled, Experience, Daruma-san or the Bath Game. And it reads, "Hello Reddit. It is I, Jude, here again. I know it's literally been forever since I made an actual decent post, so I guess I had better hope that you guys don't forget about me or assume that I died or something. I obviously am alive and well. Well, not as well as I'd like to be, but I've been through some crazy personal shit. For example, Finn, also known as the guy who wrote the Journal of a Skeptic Post, and I have to split. I personally am going through... Let's get into the actual stuff, Jude. Let's see. This time, I chose Daruma-San, also known as the Bathtub Game. This ritual comes from Japan and is about basically playing hide-and-seek with the spirit of this lady who died in the bathtub. What a nice, concise summary of this horrible ritual. It reads, I decided to do this one because it didn't involve blood or anything, and the process seemed fairly simple, and, let's be honest, I've been wanting to do it. As you spend a large part of this ritual running, or whatever you'd like to call it, I decided to wait until a weekend because I'm pretty sure I'd get some weird stares if, in the middle of my English class, I turned around and yelled, Kita! And thus my story begins. On Friday night, it was storming outside, the perfect weather for a good scary movie, or even better, a ritual. I had been waiting to do Daruma-San for quite a while, so on a whim, I decided to. She says that like it's no big deal. Anyway, usually, because if I go to sleep right after washing it, my chin-length hair will be extra voluminous when I wake up in the morning, which I do not like, so to avoid flat ironing it, I take a bath early in the evening, but because I'm a night owl, I don't usually go to sleep until 1 or 2. Gives it plenty of time to dry. Sadly, I could not do that with this ritual, so I decided to take a bath at about 1. I turned out the lights and started washing my hair as usual. I chanted Daruma-San Fell Down multiple times, using the tune of one of my favorite songs as a beat. I like that, actually. That's a really good way to do it. I closed my eyes, and while I did this, I saw something like a movie, which, if you listened to the experience that I read just before this, was kind of similar, like they saw a vision. So I will continue. It reads, it was a lady washing her long, dark hair. Daruma suddenly slipped, and the faucet of her tub went into her eye, and she turned towards the quote-unquote camera, right, if you're seeing this as a movie. She turned towards the camera as the blood poured out of her empty eye socket. Now, I was laying down, rinsing off my hair at this time, and as soon as this ended, I sat up. I immediately noticed the temperature around me dropping, and I felt like someone was staring at the back of my neck. That sounds absolutely terrifying. Trying to hide the fear in my voice, I asked the question, why did you fall in the bathtub? I was kind of shook. And then I got out of the tub and bolted to my room and to the safety of my bed. Usually takes a few minutes for me to fall asleep, but I was too afraid to stay awake. I didn't even consider that I was still naked and wet. So I fell asleep. I awoke the next morning to my cell phone ringing and my mom calling me. Remembering the ritual that I was in the middle of, I jumped out of my bed and rushed to get dressed and go downstairs. Luckily for me, Saturday was spent shopping with my mom. We, of course, went to the local mall, which was great because she usually allows me to walk around on my own. But I must say that in the car, I was scared as fuck that Daruma would get me. She didn't, though. At the mall, my mom went off to do her own thing, and for the first time in a long time, I decided to treat myself to a manicure. But the funny thing is, the guy who was doing my nails, it's funny because he was Asian, kept giving me weird looks, like he knew something was off about me. Eventually, my nails were done, and I spent a few more minutes pacing before I finally went into a store. I was in a dressing room, trying on a cute few pieces of clothing, and once again, I felt like something was behind me, and it was impossible for it to be a human, so it must have been Daruma. Carefully, I glanced over my right shoulder, and there she was. I did an awkward karate chop thing and shouted, "Kita!" And the sense of uneasiness that I had had the whole day was suddenly gone. So yeah, like don't do that. I'm a person who personally gets really jumpy when I feel someone is behind me, and once again, I will say that I lucked out on this ritual. Maybe the Celtic necklace I was wearing helped. Either way, this is in all caps, okay? This is her words, not mine. Do not try this. It is not fun, and like any other ritual, it is far from safe. But aside from that, I did have this crazy idea. She wants to start a YouTube channel. Cool. She signs off. Thanks for your experience, Jude, sharing it with Reddit. And then I read it for my podcast. Read it for the podcast. But yeah, so those are two people's experiences, Phil and then Jude's experience with playing this bathtub game, with performing the Daruma-San Ritual. And that is kind of the end of this episode. I kind of plugged everything earlier, but go ahead and check the show notes for any information on how to get in contact with us, what you can do to support the show. If you would like to share your paranormal experiences, the email that you can use to do so is down in the show notes or description as well. In the meantime, shit's crazy right now. The world is absolutely insane. Make sure to take care of yourself, check in on your loved ones and your friends, and as always, drink water, 'cause it's good for your body. Okay, bye!